Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Membership Voice. I'm Kero O'Shea, the coordinator of The Voice and the host for this evening's webinar. A very special welcome to tonight's presenter, District Governor Dave Harmon from District 9640, also a very proud member of the Rotary Club of Ballina on Richmond, and his wife, Robbie. Welcome. Welcome to you both.
Thank you so much, Kero. It's lovely to be here.
Fantastic. At this stage, I do want to acknowledge the Wadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm hosting tonight's webinar. I acknowledge the strength of their continuing culture and offer my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Now for tonight's presentation, one I've really been look forward to, the third of our amazing Ballina on Richmond trilogy, how we connected with our community, to be presented by District Governor Dave Harmon. Over to you, please, Dave.
Thank you, Kero. And again, it's lovely to be here. I'm going to share with you all just a bit of a personal story, just how this campaign that's been running for 5 years now actually started and how we've built that and how it's now become a zone campaign this year. I have two of our partners in this campaign and project joining us sometime soon. Superintendent Mr. Scott Tanner with police, and we've got where is she, Robbie? Sorry, yeah, we've got Madeline McGrath. Sorry, I was looking around. We have Madeline McGrath here from NAPCAN. Now, NAPCAN is the custodian for the Love Bites program that my wife Robin coordinates and delivers in our local schools, and that's about teaching students about respectful relationships. Now, Madeline has to go soon, so Madeline, would you mind coming on and just a quick word about how we've partnered with NAPCAN and what a great program Love Bites is and how Rotary has helped you.
Thank you very much, Dave and Robin, and I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on Gadigal land. And the word quick, I will try. You know, once I start talking, it's difficult, and I can see some other familiar faces there, I think. NAPCAN, briefly, our focus is on the prevention of child abuse and neglect. We started in 1987. Rosemary Sinclair started NAPCAN to look at how we bring the sector together to address the issue of child abuse and neglect. And then NAPCAN is the only organisation that has been solely focused on the prevention. I just want to say, please excuse me for the way I'm speaking. I've just got braces and I'm not quite used to them. From there, in 2006, I joined NAPCAN in about 2005. We were looking at the issue of child abuse and neglect and how, as an organisation that focuses on advocacy and education, we bring about the change that we need to see. We decided that we really needed to start looking at the next generation and came across a program called Love Bites that was started on the mid-north coast by health workers at the request of a school who were saying they were having difficulties and issues with young people and they wanted to know how to address them. So specialists got together from the domestic violence sector, sexual assault sector, police, and so forth, and used the best practice evidence of the time to develop what has now become the Love Bites program. We took it over in 2006-07 and got international investment from UBS Optimus to further develop the program and then roll it out more broadly than on the mid-north coast. And it has been a real grassroots movement since that time. We now train, the model has moved. The model has always been that we train community service workers to deliver the program, and the benefit of that is that not only do young people get the benefit of the program itself, they're also getting to meet the people in their community that are there to help them. So the people who deliver are health workers, nurses, police, domestic violence workers, people from every range of community-based organisation you could. Oh, I just went mute.
Yeah.
Am I all right?
Yep.
Cutting me off. Is that hook coming in? Just give me a wave if I'm going on too far. we had to make the model sustainable. So we decided what we would do would charge for training. And the great thing is that those community service organisations cover the cost of their workers going into school, so it's voluntary. The Ballina on Richmond group, Rotary, have been a sensational grassroots partner, and I think that's the key term for Love Bites, and the fact that we now train 2,000 community service workers nationally to go out into community and voluntarily deliver. And I would like to congratulate Robin, because she is now being funded, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you did tell me 2 days a week by the Department of Education to coordinate Love Bites across your region. And that is the first time across Australia that the Department of Education anywhere has sought to ensure that every young person is provided with Love Bites through that local community management model. So Dave and Robin and Rotary in this region have really brought Love Bites in under their broader DV campaign, and recognising that, like most of us, we understand that we really need to look at how we're going to bring young people along to change the attitudes that underpin domestic and family violence and the behaviours. Dave, you wanting to?
So, thank you, Madeline. And it is a lovely relationship we have. And just for our listeners' benefit, what Robin and I have found is the work we do in advocacy and raising awareness is the first step. But the real jewel in the crown, if you like, is when you can educate youth about what is a respectful relationship. And I think evidence proves that the best way to bring about long-term change is to educate youth. So that's we're very committed to that. And this is something that maybe your clubs, your districts could look at down the track, connecting with NAPCAN and Love Bites and helping get that into the schools. So Madeline, do you mind if we move on?
Not at all. I will let you move on, I promise. I just want to flag and say how wonderful it was to meet Tony Barnes and Christine Owens and Julie Clarito the other day down in Sydney. And we've also just met with your Adelaide people as well. So we are looking at a national partnership and connecting any Rotarian that is interested in meeting the people in their community who drive the Love Bites program.
No, thank you so much, Madeline. And I'm conscious you have to leave soon as well. So please stay on as long as you can. Lovely to see you. Thank you. Now, we do have Mr. Scott Tanner, Superintendent Scott Tanner on, and I'm just not sure if he is live yet. He has his video turned off. Oh, there he is, Scott.
Hopefully I'm on, David. Can you hear me?
Good to see you. Do you mind just sharing the story about how New South Wales Police have partnered with Rotary through our 5 districts, and just how we're pushing this out, trying to push it out more Australia-wide with police as well?
Absolutely. Thank you, David. And g'day, everyone. Scott Tanner is my name. I'm the District Commander for New South Wales Police for the Richmond Police District. So a couple of years ago, I was lucky enough and very fortunate to be invited to a ball that Rotary were holding in Ballina. And I got to meet these lovely people and see firsthand their work they were doing in raising awareness around domestic and family violence. So out of that became a discussion between David, myself and other members, and certainly Robin and Jodie. I want to acknowledge their efforts as well, to really look at a meaningful, solid partnership between New South Wales Police and Rotary about raising awareness in domestic and family violence, but in particular around the 16 days of activism. Now, to understand how we got to this point was a number of meetings, a number of influencing very senior members of the New South Wales Police. And the reason I raise that is that, like a lot of organisations we've been burned in the past, New South Wales Police have been burned in the past when we've partnered with different agencies and organisations. So they were very gun shy about where this would take us. But because of the trusted reputation that we know Rotary have, and our partnerships are already existing through the Police Officer of the Year Awards, to get it through the hierarchy has been quite smooth. When you're talking with government, smooth doesn't usually go hand in hand, but certainly on this occasion we seem to have achieved it. So what we're doing now is that each police district around New South Wales will partner with their local Rotary Club, and they will participate in a march on, I think, David, I think we're trying looking about the 1st or 2nd of December, I think.
That's correct. That's correct, Scott.
So we have 20,000 police and civilians in our organisation, and the impact that every police district across New South Wales will be involved in this, and whether that's in a small community out west to our large metropolitan areas, I think is going to have a real impact. Each district and Rotary Club will also look at doing other bespoke things for their local area. And that can be a variety of things, from having a ball, which we've had at Ballina before, to a golf day, to school visits, to whatever that the need is. But the real impactful moment will be when you see everyone from the Commissioner of Police down to the most junior of constables walking side by side with Rotary Club members and community members in raising awareness. And such has been the influence of David and his team that we're in partnership, well, a bit of a tri-partnership with Queensland Police. So Queensland Police have come on board, and we want to try and push this out Australia-wide. And I'm very, very confident that we'll get there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scott Tanner. And it has been a pleasure working with Scott. It's amazing, just when you find the right people, that amazing things can happen. And Scott, feel free to stay on as long as you want, mate, with our presentation. But I'm conscious you're a busy man. So
thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So if everyone's okay, I'll just share my screen now and I'll go through the presentation. And this is a bit of our personal story, but it's also a story how connecting with community can really transform your club with picking the right cause, and how it can transform your club and help build membership. So there is an add-on here about membership as well. And I'll give you examples and actually prove my case, if you like, in how this can really transform your club. So the story of Ballina Richmond Rotary Club, back in 2018, 2019 is when we first started this campaign. And we have a three-stage approach where we raise awareness and advocate against domestic and family violence, educate our youth, and we also, our Rotary Club does support victims of DV, both women, children and men escaping domestic violence. So back in, as I say, back in that 2019 year, that was my first year as president of our club. And our club was going through, began our transformation of a club that was really a fundraising club into a Rotary Club that focused on local causes, social justice causes and social causes. And we made a conscious effort to more engage our community and try and make ourselves more attractive and relevant in our community. We wanted a strong community purpose, and I committed that year to put 80% of my effort into these core values that we set ourselves. So my story in creating hope in the world. Back in 2018, I attended a memorial service in Kyogle, a town near Ballina, for a friend of mine's sister that was murdered in front of her 3 young children, and her partner set the house on fire and left with the 3 children. And I remember sitting in this service thinking, I'm the incoming president of our club, and what could I do in our town of Ballina to make a difference with domestic and family violence? Because I must admit, I was really shocked at this memorial service, and it really did touch me. And it just brought to the fore to me just how shocking this was, what was going on in homes all throughout Australia on a daily basis. So I went home to my wife, Robin, and discussed it. Then I took it to our Rotary board, and they unanimously supported the proposal that we adopt domestic violence as our major club project for that year. In 2019, we held our first domestic and family violence walk down the main street of Ballina. We had nearly 800 people walk on that first walk, and it brought a lot of community groups together, and high school students, different agencies, and it's just a real show of support for the cause that we were trying to champion. We had so much community support. So where do you start? Where did we start? We consulted the community. Robin and I spent, when we decided to take this on, we spent about 3 months door knocking, going around to different agencies on the Northern Rivers, and just not in Ballina, but in Lismore as well, Lennox Head, Byron Bay, talking to people that work in this space and trying to find out where Rotary fitted in. What could Rotary do to actually do something about this? So about 3 months, we understood that the big thing we could do, Rotary as a community group that has a lot of respect in the community, we could get out there and advocate. We do that very well. And so that was our call to action, our club's call to action in that first year. After consulting, we decided to work with these other community agencies to work together, to partner and put on our first big community walk. So the secret is to not try and just do it on your own, is to get out there and find the people that work in this space. You will find, well, we found that everyone was very supportive. They knew what we were about, trying to help. And that's where we found the best thing we could do, as I say, was to do this advocacy and raise awareness. Okay, so the how, who, why, what, and when. So how, as I say, start at the basics, connect with the community. As I say, police, we liaise with police very early on in this piece as well. The who, the health, education, police, social agencies that work in the space, counsellors and so on, they're the who. The why, it's too hard to do it on your own. Find the partners that can work with you. And when you heard Superintendent Tanner mention the 16 days of activism, I think it's important that we do link in that time frame, and that's from the 25th of November to the 10th of December. That's when right around Australia and right around the world, we have people out there being active about gender-based violence. So that's the critical time. And you heard it mentioned earlier, the 1st of December is the proposed National Day of Action that Rotarians will take. So as we said before, knock on doors. Don't be afraid to do it the old-fashioned way. I think it's important you build rapport and get the confidence of the other agencies in town that you're not trying to take over their space. You're here trying to help them and support them, and use Rotary's brand and Rotary's call to action, the people we have in our towns, to help them get the message out about DV. And as I say, we formed relationships with a lot of agencies in town. In that first year, we had local primary and high school students walking with us. We had the local council, health and police, providers, women's groups like Zonta, the CWA, Inner Wheel, and local DV committees, state and federal members. We had Salvation Army, St Vincent de Paul. We're all there for the common cause. So link in with them. It doesn't take a long time to go around and actually introduce yourself to these people. And what you will find when you build the relationships and rapport with these agencies, this is when membership happens. This is when people say, hey, look at this Rotary Club, look how active they are. I want to be part of this. And we have members of our club that have come from these groups. Now, my computer's not letting me see all this. Bear with me. Sorry. So, Rotary is in a unique position, being a service club that does connect with community. We are a respected brand. And what I found was amazing about Rotary, it provides you a platform that you can actually get up and achieve wonderful things, great things that you could not do on your own. Rotary has a great support mechanism. And I encourage you very much to connect with your club or your cluster. It may be that your cluster group with your assistant governors can put together, you know, a larger campaign in your area, or you might just want to do it at club level. So some of you may remember back in the 2020-2021 year, there we had 100 years of Rotary celebrations. What was different in our district, the district I'm part of, District 9640, is the governor at the time, Andrew Rajapaksa, and I met very early on in his year, and we knew that the 100 years of Rotary was happening. And I said to Andy in the conversation, what do you think about, you know, how connecting with domestic and family violence as a cause? And Andy sort of straight away saw the opportunity to say, why don't we connect this with our baton relay that's going around our district and connect domestic and family violence with 100 years of Rotary. So some of these photos show that the media was all over this. And while it was fantastic celebrating 100 years of Rotary, the media were very much interested in Rotary putting up and saying no to domestic violence. That was what the media were really interested in. So Robin and I got to walk on quite a few of the different walks around our district. And it was amazing getting Rotarians outside their meeting rooms, out on the streets, standing up for something and connecting with community. And as I say again, the media interest was just amazing. Up on the top right-hand side of the screen, that's the German-Austrian Rotarian magazine. They voted this campaign in our district in the top 10 Rotary projects or campaigns in the world in that year. So that was quite amazing and a bit of a shock. But what it really does highlight here is the power of this message, and how if you can connect with your community like we have, that can really, really raise your club's profile, relevance and identity in your towns. So that was a very successful year, and I'm now going to share with you just what it did for our membership. So in that year, if you look at that the brown line going up, and you see the two red marks in there, that's in that March to May, that's when we activated our baton relay through our district. And it's interesting when you look at that membership growth, that's when the majority of members joined clubs in our district. We had the most under 30s join our district in our district's history. We had the most women join our Rotary clubs ever in our district. And in that year, we had a net membership growth of 218 members. And the most, or at least 60% of that membership growth come from the activation of that baton relay with a cause of Rotary Says No to Domestic Violence. In the years since that year, we have only had negative growth. Last year, we had a negative growth of 145. The year before, we had a negative growth of about 50. So the preceding years from that year, and we've had COVID and we've had other things happen, but that highlights that if you can have a campaign and you activate something that connects with community, members will want to be part of it. The community will want to be part of it. So when we do our walk down our main street in Ballina, we stop at a local, not at our local Ballina Indoor Sports Centre, and we have lived experience speakers speak about their journey through domestic and family violence. Normally we have 2 to 3 speakers, and they can be very, very powerful. And our last walk in November was very powerful, and I'll share a little bit about that with you. We find this community event has, how can I say, Ballina is a different place today than what it was 5 years ago. Conversations between our community, when you look at police, you look at health, we are a different town. It's something now that is not just swept under the carpet. It's something that we, as a whole, we communicate about and we are concerned about. This is a photo of 2 of our lived experience speakers last November. The lady in yellow was our mayor, Sharon Cadwallader. Sharon shared her life and her heart with those present on the day, how she was nearly killed in her first marriage, head put down a toilet and flushed, and all sorts of things. You know, very emotional, but you can see how passionate she is about, you know, this story, about stopping the violence and ending the silence. And the lady with the red hat on, Mandy is a local comedian or an author, and she shared her story as well. So this is sort of, if you activate a walk, I mean, I think we need to think about, if you do a walk, what do you do then? Do you just stop and then just all hop in your cars and go away? I think it's important if you can just have something else as an add-on to that to finish. And we've found that this works very, very well in having, you know, and it goes for about an hour, what we do. But something that's really we'd never have planned to happen, but this happened over the Christmas period just gone. Our local sporting club, Cherry Street Sports Club, was very, very supportive of our club, and the CEO said to us, David, we'd really like to use those purple shirts that you've designed, these ones here that say no to domestic and family violence. We'd like all our staff to wear those over the Christmas period and New Year's. And they have nearly 100 staff. So over a 6-week period, all the staff wore those shirts. And the response from the staff or from the community was that positive that in January we met again, and the CEO sat down with us and said, well, what's the next move? What can we do? And from that, Purple Friday concept was born. And that was where Cherry Street Sports Club did a club grant with our Rotary Club of $25,000. And we put out on social media to all businesses around Ballina who wanted to be part of this Purple Friday, where we're asking businesses and their employees to wear these purple shirts every Friday for the rest of the year. Within 2 weeks, we had sold or we had 1,000 shirts committed to. 90 businesses have signed up to this. So if you come into Ballina on a Friday and go down the main street, you will find Brumby's Bakery, you'll find hairdressers, retail, hospitality, the council chamber, go into the council chamber, they're all wearing these purple shirts. So again, this is just getting the message out, really educating and advocating against domestic and family violence. So it's packing a punch. This campaign, this project, it packs a punch, it creates impact. It does very much increase the relevance of our club. If you walk down the street and say, you know, your Rotary Club in Ballina, what do they do? I guarantee you every second person will be able to confirm who we are and what we do. We're confirming our identity. People know who we are. So we have an identity, we have something to sell. The community is partnering with us and they want to be part of what we do. Here's just some few photos of Purple Friday. You know, proudly just wearing their shirts. And I must admit, I get a bit of a tingle down my spine when I walk down the street on a Friday. And Robin and I wear our shirts every Friday when we go out as well. And I love going for a beer at the Cherry Street Sports Club on a Friday afternoon, and I'll wear the shirt in there. You know, it's I just can't explain just how powerful it is and what it does. It's powerful for our community. It's powerful for victims of domestic and family violence, and it's powerful for Rotary. What it's done for our club, where, how can I say, the respect we have in our community by standing up for this cause is immense. So I have one of my DG colleagues here, Christine, from one of the Sydney districts, and it's great to see Christine on tonight. But in October, I was given the opportunity to present to my 19 other district governor-elects at the time a proposal that we adopt this cause, Say No to Domestic Violence, across our zone, Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific Islands. And I must admit, at the time I thought I didn't have much of a chance of getting this across the line, but it was unanimously endorsed. And more than that, everyone in the room was just so keen to make it happen. So it's over 30 years since we've had a zone campaign in Zone 8. So this is a very unique opportunity. It's a rare opportunity, and it really shows how our district governor leaders, how we rate this cause. Mr. Tanner would be able to confirm with you, this is the top level of policing in New South Wales and Queensland. This is the major area of concern for police. It takes up between 50 and 70% of general duties police work. It's time something's done about it. So to have a zone campaign, and especially for us in Australia, to have Australia taking a common cause, when we can have a call to action during those 16 days of activism, is just amazing. When we were in Orlando earlier this year, at lunchtime, each of the district governors will go and change into our purple shirts, and our partners as well. And we proudly wore them around in front of 525 other governors, elects, and 220 countries. And you would imagine in some of those countries, the governors there from some countries found this a bit confronting, because women in some of those countries are, are a lot worse off, if I can say it that way, than they are in Australia, a lot less respected. And it was a bit confronting to some of them, but we very much proudly wore those shirts over there. And forming powerful partnerships. Who would have thought 5 years ago that, a basic guy like me would get an audience with Deputy Commissioner Lanyon and all the superintendents from New South Wales Police, the Commissioner of Queensland Police, about partnering with Rotary. And while it's been a couple of years in the making, I must share with you that police are very keen with this partnership. It's not something we've had to drag over the line. They're very much an active partner in this, and they can see the value. This is a game changer that police have been waiting for, to have a community group like Rotary getting out there and leading the way with police. So I think it's a wonderful outcome. And I really think this Rotary year, in these 6 days of activism, we can get out there and have impact like we've never had before. So to use my basic formula, being an engineer, I have a bit of a analytical brain. If we look at the basic makeup of Rotary clubs, it doesn't matter what club type you are. It really doesn't matter. But if you find the right cause that fits with your demographic, you'll have relevance. And if you have relevance, you have an identity. If you have an identity, you have something to sell. It just makes common basic sense. And I think this is where Rotary's had a problem over the last 10, 20 years. Many clubs have lost their relevance and they don't really have an identity. And if you look at the Rotary Club that I'm a member of, in the 2 years that when we started this campaign in 2019, 20, 2021, we grew from 33 to 50 members. And currently now I think we're close to 80 members in our club. And we only have a population base in Ballina Island of about 10,000 people. We're the 3rd biggest club in our zone. So it says something about connecting to a cause and getting out there and selling your story. So a day of action, we're looking at Friday, the 1st of December as our day of action. Now, other clubs will do it on different days, and that's fine. But this is the day, if we want to be part of a national campaign where we try and activate our call to action on the same day, Friday, the 1st of December. Yeah. Now, I'll just stop sharing now, and I'll come back to the main screen, and I hope we can have a bit of a discussion and have some questions.
Great. Thank you, Dave.
Everyone's still awake. That's good.
Yep. I'm sure they are, Dave. That was an excellent presentation. Thank you. Dave, since you started the domestic violence campaign, which has worked so well, you've had some other fairly significant issues impact the Ballina community, and probably the floods were one of the biggest ones of those.
Yes.
How did because I know you did some incredible stuff in terms of responding to the floods. How did that response play into your club's relationship with the community?
Yeah, thanks, Kiro. Yes, we have been very involved in the floods, and it's still ongoing work. We have been very committed to the flood recovery, and I still can't explain what it's like driving through Lismore. It breaks your heart. It really does. It's so at a club level, mental health become a big focus of our club over the last 12 months, and we have run a symposium, and we're working with local community groups, Headspace and others in helping with mental health. So that is a major issue. But an offshoot of that, of course, is mental health, drug and alcohol. When you're in a stressed home environment and so on, domestic and family violence, of course, is an offshoot. And the rates of domestic and family violence over this last 14, 15 months has definitely gone up a fair bit. And Mr. Tanner would confirm that. So, yeah, it's an interesting place where we're living at the moment. We have people under a lot of stress, and that has played out with drug and alcohol. Not so much crime; it's more those social justice things, and like domestic and family violence.
I'll just go over to Christine Owen has her hand up. Over to you, please, Christine.
Thank you so much, Kiro. Dave and Robbie, great to see you. Lovely opportunity to share this whole experience around domestic and family violence. It's an incredibly important message that we need to deliver to the community, and standing up and showing that Rotarians are really reputable people in the community and can carry a message, an important message beyond just our Rotary clubs. So Dave and Robbie as the key starters of this particular project, congratulations. And I think that there's a whole range of different things that can come out of this, and we're my district 9685 is right behind you in being part of this project, and we're incredibly proud that we can work with not only New South Wales Police, and thank you Superintendent Scott Tanner for being on board, and as well Madeline McGrath from NatCam. There are lots of opportunities that can come from this, and we are looking forward to creating a bigger and better experience that comes from what started in Ballina on Richmond. So thank you, Dave. Thank you, Robbie. And let's look for things that are bigger and better.
Thank you
so much, Christine.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Christine. And now over to Carolyn Young.
I'd like to hear more about what you're doing with providing actual support to victims of domestic violence. Let me give you a little background there. I chair a committee of 7 Rotary clubs in Brisbane, comprising from three clusters, and have done since the end of 2021. The committee itself has been going since 2019. We've investigated a lot of avenues, and there are many, as you know, many charities and organisations within the domestic violence arena. But and we've, as Rotarians, raised money and given it to many of those organisations. But we thought to ourselves in 2021, when I took over the chairing, that Rotary is a charity. We don't want to compete with other charities in things that they're already doing quite well. But what we decided was to have a model where our Rotary clubs partner with domestic violence refuges in Brisbane. So we have 7 clubs, so two sets of clubs pair up to support a refuge. And we feel we're making practical outcomes. We're actually getting results for the efforts that we're putting in. Like you, we'd like to grow that model. So what we're interested in is how can one make a practical, apart from raising awareness and gaining community support, how can we make a practical contribution to the people who are the most affected by domestic violence?
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, great. We're like you. We do support the Women and Children's Refuge here. So yeah, very much so. But the other thing we do is we do put care packages together for women and children and men escaping domestic violence. And they have all the things you would need for at least a week of if you're escaping home, and you need, you know, all the things you need. It has things in there for children as well. And we also have, to the value of $250 in there, we have vouchers for Coles, for fuel, and so on, and phone. Yeah, so you're able to go and buy a phone. You're able to get petrol. You're able to get food. Yeah, so, and the way we put them out into the community, if you like, is through the other the social agencies that work in that space. So we have those support packages at those venues that look after the women and children escaping and men. So, but it's very similar to what you do. But what we've found of late, it's more, while we still do that, it's more the Love Bites education program it's really gathered a lot more momentum this last year or so. The schools are really coming on board and now requesting it instead of us having to try and get past the front door. They're now calling us and wanting it. Yeah, so thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dave, and thanks, Caroline. Janelle Craig has a question. Over to you, please, Janelle.
I do. Cara, thank you very much. And Harmon, thank you. It's just inspirational to be online and listen to what you've done and given us all, I think, here lots of ideas. I'm from District 9685, so part of Christine's team, and there's probably 6 of us on here tonight, which is fantastic. In terms of, I suppose, my question, or I'm looking for advice and tips about I suppose the issue about scalability, how to and coordination, how to coordinate these efforts at a district level with numerous clusters, multiple clubs. How, if you've got any experience and advice on how best to do that, and what to look out for, and how to make this as effective as possible.
I think, thanks, Janelle. That's a great question, because I'll be the first to say, and Robin will support this, that I'm a hopeless delegator. I'm hopeless. I'm learning. But what the model I'm trying to use in our district is engaging the assistant governors to work in their clusters and trying to find champions. 1 or 2 champions in each cluster within the clubs to work with the assistant governor. You know, that's the sort of model I'm trying to work with. Now, some of our districts, some of our clusters are really, really going gang-ho. And it comes down to that, to the AG, really. The AGs that are driving it and passionate about it, they've already got everything planned, and it's all happening where others are dragging the chain. I mean, that's just life. But on a local level, with organising walks and so on, I can help anyone that just wants to contact me about how to go about that. Just please feel free. There is a bit of work to do with getting roads closed, and you'd need to sort of act on that pretty soon if you want to do it, to get it through council. But the big thing, the big positive here, is we have New South Wales Police on board that will know all about this campaign and be wanting to help us. So the power of a street can't be underestimated. And I personally, when we do one on Friday, I make a point of doing it on a Friday at 12:30 when it's the busiest time town in the main street. That's when we shut it, and we have the most people visible to see it, and we get the most and we get the most impact. And as Robbie said, another big, if you like, a real positive that can make things really happen is if you get a high school involved.
Yeah.
Because if you can get a school involved, all of a sudden you've got 500 to 1,000 people with you. And if councils are hesitant to change closed roads, and you say, well, I've got a school walking with us, all of a sudden the game changes, because they can't be walking down a footpath with 500 kids. That's what changed the dynamic with us. The original in 2019, the council was dead set, said it would never ever happen, that they close the road. And then I got the school involved, and I went back and I said, well, the school's walking with us, so we're just going to walk down the footpaths, are we? And that changed the conversation. Yeah, so
and our club website was.
yeah. And Robbie's just reminded me, I forgot to mention in the PowerPoint, our club website, the Rotary Club of Ballina on Richmond. I encourage you all to go to it. This is where you'll find all the resources for this campaign. These shirts, you'll find the order form for the shirts on that website. Go to the top right of the webpage, click on that, Zone 8, click on that, and you'll find the shirts, but you'll also find banners and all sorts of other material that you can adapt for your club or your district. It's all in there. So I forgot to mention
the hard
that.
work's been done.
All the as Robbie said, sorry.
Been access.
All the hard work has been done. And these shirts are wonderful. Look, we find wearing these around our street. Yes, show the back, Robbie. It encourages. Yes, just stand up a bit. Yeah, it encourages so many. And sorry, so it says Rotary Australia, New Zealand, and Pacific Islands on the back, and we say yes to respectful relationships on the back. Yeah. So the message is, we say no on the front. We say that's what we don't want, and this is what we want. Yeah. So we find those so powerful. They create so many conversations when you're wearing them. And our club wears these at barbecues and other events we do. It's our second club shirt. Yeah. Sorry, I kept talking. So yeah.
That was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Janelle.
Thanks, Janelle, and thanks, Dave. Over to past Governor Beryl Roch, please.
Thanks, Dave, for your presentation. I'm from Airlie Beach in Queensland, District 9560. Congratulations on your campaign. It sounds wonderful, and hopefully we can get a bit of traction with it in our District 9560. My question was actually about resources, so you've answered that one now. That's wearing my public image chair hat. I was just wondering also whether you have been able to have any data or notice any difference or response to your campaign in terms of, it's probably hard to tell whether there's been a reduction in domestic violence, but perhaps there's noticeable difference in people asking for support and knowing where to come and all that sort of thing. Is there any data around that type of thing?
No, thanks, Marilyn. It's a great question. You can imagine it's really hard to actually have analytical data as far as actual assault go. What we can do, or we can show, is the change in our town, in our culture, and we can show the results from the Love Bites program in the schools, because they have a survey that they do afterwards as to how it's changed their thoughts and attitudes. And that's very powerful. So there's a positive response from that Love Bites. But on a local level in town, I can give an example. one Friday, a hairdresser in town that wears these shirts, their staff wear these shirts. On one Friday, 3 women come in that had not spoken to anyone before about their experience of domestic and family violence that they're living through, and they opened up to the hairdresser on that day. So those women had taken the first step towards, you know, seeking support. And just a couple, 2 years ago, we had our first International Men's Day in Ballina. 300 men at the football fields. We had a guest speaker. It was Kerry O'Keefe, the cricketer, and I was the second speaker to talk about domestic and family violence to 300 men. Now, where would you ever get that platform to talk to 300 men at a football grounds about domestic violence? So the culture has changed, and our town is a different town, very much so. To measure it, it's very hard, but we do hope over the years with Love Bites that we can start to track that, and some of the conversations and that we have with some of the students that do Love Bites is very, very powerful about what they live through. Yeah,
and we utilise the students' artwork and campaign messages in our domestic and family violence walk. So the students' artwork is front and centre of that campaign as well. So they're getting their messages out there in the community.
And sorry, Robbie, on our website, you'll see beer coasters and a lot of other stuff that's on that website, and that's all from Love Bites. All the artwork is from Love Bites.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Meryl, and thank you, Dave. Judith Mackay put a question in the chat earlier on about, has Rotary contributed to funding for delivery of the Love Bites program across the region or the training of community facilitators?
Yeah, Robbie?
Absolutely. Yes, Judith, they have. And I'm so grateful to our Rotary Club. And as Dave was membership chair of our district 2 years ago, and now being district governor, I travel with him to club visits. And so we've been able to tell this story for the last couple of years, and many other Rotary clubs are donating money to our social justice account for me to be able to utilise those funds in the delivery of Love Bites and also the training of facilitators. So yeah, Rotary's just been incredibly amazing in supporting the whole program. Yeah.
You have that strategic relationship.
Absolutely, yes. And I've been able to do it without Rotary support because they fund the creative arts session especially, so they pay for all the art supplies for me to be able to, ask students to present, what they've learned by creating artwork at the end of the program.
There's an awkward question that I do need to ask, because this is part of it going into our best practice library. Through this process, which is all seemed to work so remarkably well, have there been any missteps? Are there any things that, if you did it again, that you would do differently? Any learnings like that?
Hero, that's a really interesting question. When I think back, I suppose I think everyone would realise I've had my hills to climb. This isn't everyone's cup of tea, every Rotarian's cup of tea. Working in this space, in the club I'm a member of, there's people in there that don't like it. So there have been obstacles. Probably trying to dealing with Rotary International, trying to get the branding right and get things, it's quite bureaucratic. And so that's been the hard work. This zone campaign has been a lot of hard work in getting it over the line. That wasn't, I couldn't do it different because that obstacle's always going to be there. But I suppose everything's been a learning experience, and I probably wouldn't do it any different because it's made me understand and adapt and come out with the product or what we've got now. And without living that, I wouldn't have known it. Yeah, so very happy with the way it's all turned out, to be honest. And I've got to, and I should acknowledge that while you've got a few that make life a bit hard, the overwhelming majority has been so supportive. And my GG colleagues, the 20 of us, have just been great, and I know every one of them's got my back. So you know, which is wonderful.
Yeah, my own district governor in Eki speaks very highly of the program and the contribution. So,
sorry, Robbie wanted to add something.
To add something to that. In terms of obstacles, we did face very early days some opposition from within our own Rotary Club. And some of our members, you know, oh, what are you doing that for? Like, I don't know anybody that's ever committed domestic violence. You know, it's not in my family, it's not in our friendship group. You know, we don't know anybody. And just, you know, starting those conversations within our club, and, you know, after having done our first walk, some of those particular members have come back to us and said, you know, their niece has come to them and told them about her experience. You know, one's daughter-in-law, someone else's daughter. And these Rotarians didn't even know that these young people were experiencing it. But I think the fact that the young people could see their mother, their uncle, their aunt in a club that was standing up for something like domestic and family violence, they had a safe person to have start that conversation with. So that's been incredibly powerful. And even some of our members didn't particularly feel comfortable with wearing the shirts. But then once the Purple Friday started, and, you know, over 80 businesses took up the challenge of, you know, Purple Friday, our club members got FOMO, you know, fear of missing out. And all of a sudden they're going, oh, so where do we get one of those purple shirts from? And so the attitude and beliefs and changes within our circle of friends, like within Rotary, it's just been worth every moment of it, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I did take it as a challenge early on, and men would in our club would come up and just say, you make me feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable with what you're doing, and you know, I don't like it. And I'd just say, look, well, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, because if that makes you feel uncomfortable, I'm doing my job.
And we've done some activities and workshops with our club, because, you know, it's not all about, a lot of people just think domestic violence is physical. There's 10 different definitions of domestic and family violence. So I think it's the education of our community is incredibly important. And like Dave says, we're starting that earlier and earlier. We're even in primary schools now with the Respect for Relationships education program. You know, the more we can educate people, the greater change we'll see in culture and communities. It will be safer. We want families to feel safe, and we want our children to be protected. Thank you.
thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Dave. Over to David Anea.
Just quickly, and thank you. I'm from Tassie, and I'm on Biddy Fisk's committee. And this is just, I do involvement at district level, also in youth programs, and one is the Windward Bound Rotary Youth Challenge, and you probably would have seen a lot of stuff about the ship going up the eastern seaboard and back. This has all happened very quickly, and it's this week. We're considering getting a special topsail made for the Windward Bound, and it would be Rotary stands up to stop domestic violence, but it'll cost about $10,000. But we think there is some funding there that has been set aside from other stuff, so we think we can get it there. And then also, while she was in Queensland waters, Captain Sarah was approached by a Rotarian who is also a member of the RSL, and he was telling her about the problems Afghan return service men are having. And so we're now considering putting together special cruises for return service veterans in an effort to help them reassimilate back into society.
Okay.
But that's all in the pipeline, but we'll try hard to get it across the line.
David, that's wonderful. No, thank you so much.
Thank you, David. And thank you, Dave. Dave, 2 years ago, it was about 2 years ago, I asked you a question. I think I really need an update on it. Dave Harmon, why are you a Rotarian?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Robin and I, we joined for service. When we joined the Rotary Club of Ballina, Richmond, we wanted to just connect with service in our community. Particularly, we have a passion. We do have a passion, both being in education. We have a passion for those less fortunate, and that can be homelessness, disability support, mental health, domestic and family violence. They all tick the box. It just happened to be that domestic and family violence is the one that got the legs, if you like. But we're as passionate about any of those causes. And yeah, it's just I think it's like an add-on from our careers. We just want to help people in need. And Rotary, I very much see, and I think we see Rotary as an enabler. It enables just normal people like all of us, I think, to do amazing things. And without Rotary, we'd never ever achieve any of it. So Rotary is unique in that it's enabled us to do this. And as this collective group that's here today, what we can possibly do this year with police and NAPCAN and our other partners, I think we can really make a difference. And Kira, I sort of compare this to drink driving back in the 80s, where having the afternoon swill was just that was cool. Drive home, everyone was fine with that. It took several generations to finally, get the message through with harder penalties and so on. And I think, this is a bit similar. It's a long road, but we're at the forefront of it, and let's drive it.
To start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Us.
And with you guys leading it, well, it's going to go places.